What if you woke up tomorrow and discovered that your roots, your true ancestral homeland is calling you back? What if you, as a Jamaican, as a Barbadian, as a Trinidadian, or as an African American could legally hold an African passport, opening the door not just to a continent but to your historical birthright? This is no fantasy. This is not just a dream passed down from your great-grandmother whispering stories of Africa's beauty. This is real. This is now. And this revolution is being led by Captain Ibrahim, the bold leader of Burkina Faso. Welcome to Afrique Vibe News, the channel where African truth is uncensored, and history is rewritten by the voices of the people. Today we're witnessing the rebirth of Pan-Africanism not in words, not in speeches, but in policy, in action, in passports. Yes, you heard that right, under a sweeping proposal being supported by Ibrahim. Citizens of Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and African Americans will soon be eligible for African passports. For centuries, the African diaspora has been scattered across the world by force, by trade, by systems of oppression that tried to erase the connection to our homeland. But now, that connection is being reawakened. This is the passport revolution. This is the moment where identity, belonging, and pride are no longer just feelings, but rights. Let's break it all down: how it's happening, what it means, and why this could be the most transformative decision in modern African history. The story of the African diaspora is one of both tragedy and resilience. From the shores of Ghana to the plantations of the Caribbean, from West African kingdoms to the slave auctions in America, millions were ripped from their land never to return, yet never to forget. Today, the descendants of those stolen generations live in countries like Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, the United States, and beyond. They've built cultures, fought for rights, and created new identities, but the one thing many have never truly had is the right to return, not just as tourists, but as rightful sons and daughters of the African continent. The idea of reconnecting the African diaspora with the continent is not new, but for decades it remained symbolic, talked about in speeches at summits, evoked in cultural festivals, or printed on posters. What was missing? Action. That's where Ibrahim steps in. The young leader of Burkina Faso has risen to become one of the most daring voices of African unity in the 21st century. He's not just speaking about sovereignty, he's challenging the world order. And now, is extending a hand to the diaspora, not just in solidarity, but in citizenship. In a press announcement that has taken African media by storm, sources close to the Pan-African Alliance led by Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have confirmed that discussions are underway to grant African passports to diaspora citizens across the Caribbean and North America. This includes Jamaicans, Barbadians, Trinidadians, African Americans. The initiative would allow these individuals to live and work in African countries, invest in local industries, participate in Pan-African development programs, and most importantly, return to their ancestral roots with dignity. But this is not just about paperwork or international travel. This is about reclaiming history. Imagine being an African American teacher in Atlanta who now has the right to teach in Burkina Faso without needing a visa, or a Jamaican entrepreneur starting a cocoa business in Ghana under the protection of an African passport, or a Trinidadian doctor working in a hospital as a fellow citizen, not a foreigner. This passport initiative changes everything. It will mark the first time in modern history that Africa, as a continent, formally recognizes descendants of the diaspora as its own, not through words, but through national documentation. And who's leading this charge? Ibrahim. Why would the leader of a landlocked country in West Africa, embroiled in conflict and resisting neocolonial influence, extend passports to people thousands of miles away? The answer is simple. Believes in Africa for Africans, all Africans, everywhere. He understands that the strength of Africa lies not only in its minerals or its land, but in its people, both on the continent and in the diaspora. For too long, Africans abroad have been treated like foreigners even when they try to reconnect, rejected by immigration systems, caught in bureaucracy, or simply made to feel unwelcome. Is changing that. In a recent Pan-African forum, he stated, "The children stolen from Africa must know that they have a home, a place to return, a people to embrace them, a future to build together." This philosophy is driving his political decisions from economic independence to continental integration. And with this passport initiative, He is planting the seeds of a global African nation, one that goes beyond borders and colonially drawn lines. Now, let's talk logistics. How will this work? Will African passports really be accepted? What countries are involved? According to initial drafts from the Pan-African Alliance, the program would start as a multi-country agreement, likely involving Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, possibly Guinea, and others in the Sahel bloc. Here's how it's expected to roll out. Eligibility verification. Diaspora individuals must prove descent from African heritage via family records or DNA services. Cultural orientation. Applicants will undergo a brief educational program on African history, culture, and language basics. Citizenship or residency. Approved applicants can choose either full citizenship or long-term residency. Passport issuance. Upon approval, a Pan-African passport will be issued under the hosting country's authority. This means you don't need to renounce your current citizenship to hold this one. It's about inclusion, not replacement. And here's what's even more exciting: many African leaders are watching closely. If this model succeeds, it could spread across all 54 African countries. A global return. A modern exodus, not of suffering, but of reconnection. The reaction from the diaspora has been electric. One African-American activist tweeted, "My ancestors were kidnapped from Africa. Now my grandchildren will return legally with an African passport in hand. Thank you." A Jamaican musician posted, "Africa is calling her children home. I'm ready to answer," and social media across the Caribbean is filled with hashtags like #Back to Africa, #African Passport, #Traoré Revolution. Even scholars and Pan-African thinkers are calling this the most revolutionary passport policy since independence. But it doesn't stop there. Economic experts say this could unlock a diaspora economy worth billions through real estate, tourism, tech, agriculture, and education. This isn't just about identity, it's about power. With this African passport initiative, Ibrahim is doing more than passing a policy. He is sending a signal to the world. Africa is not a continent to be pitied. It is a homeland to be reclaimed, and to the millions of diaspora brothers and sisters, this is your invitation. An invitation to invest, to build, to teach, to learn, to return. If this initiative expands across the African Union, it could shift the world's perception of African power, no longer fractured by colonization, but united by identity. Diaspora engagement could help Africa fill skill gaps in healthcare, engineering, and education, expand global influence through a committed, patriotic diaspora. Build a truly borderless African citizenship. And for the diaspora, this is your moment to rise, to reclaim your stolen past and build a shared future. Here at AfricVibe News, we will keep tracking this historic development and bring you updates as the African passport revolution unfolds. Ibrahim isn't just rewriting Burkina Faso's story, he's reshaping the destiny of an entire people across oceans, across generations, across time. If you're watching this from Brooklyn, from Kingston, from Port of Spain, from Toronto, or from London, know this: Africa is no longer a place you just dream of. It's becoming a place that welcomes you home with open arms and official papers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the word to our global family. This is AfricVibe News, where the voice of Africa is amplified and our truth echoes across the globe. Until next time, stay proud, stay connected, and stay united.